Hello, I'm here. I'm Yanko, and Kerri, it's missing in action today. She'll be joining us later on today, and we're having Radavie as our guest in to our show. Radavie, we met through Kerri, and Radavie, it's a author. She have a book and also inner peace coach, and she will be telling you about that in a little bit. So. Uh, Go ahead, Radhavi.
Oh, so
How are you
hi
today?
everyone. Hi everyone. I'm Radhavi and I live in North Carolina near Asheville. And through my own life's journey, I've come to this place where I realized that all the experiences I had was specifically for this book because I had agreement unknown to me at that time that my soul had an agreement to receive messages from the essence of our soul. So why was that? Why was that? Because we all came in as multidimensional. We were innocent, meaning our essence was intact multidimensionally. We saw everything as one.
Hmm.
Well, we know what happened. We were so heavily talked into other people's belief, meaning conditioned, and that we were carrying that program that got so many of us trapped because we had forgotten what we are. Nobody reminded us. So through my own wounding as a conditioned person, and I had to do my own self healing. I come knowing passionately that my soul was here to break the code of human conditioning. But I didn't know how to do it. I thought, how am I going to do it? Although I have been working with so many clients for 30 odd years, healing their wounded child, then I got the message. And the message came from the essence of all our collective souls. And the messages were so, mm, I want to say haunting, but it's not that haunting. It's about remember, I wanted to let you know that I am here. I am your firstborn. I don't repeat their words because it's very multidimensional, and then one word would make shift the whole thing. So it's in my book, and so the book has rem- things that we would really recognize as a conditioned person. And you also be getting the teachings from the divine spot. They told me we are divine spots. We are not wounded children. And then there are practices from the book. And once you really become and start to expand from the essence of your soul, that's where your inner peace is. That's where you get it. That's where you live in peace. So, in spite of whatever is going on in the world, you you have less identification with the issues of the planet right now that is heating up. It's in fire, and you live in that sense of peace and compassion. This is the beauty. And this is how we, each one of us, will begin to change the world. So, Douglas, come on, come. Is that okay, Yanko, for him to come in now?
Of course, yeah, anytime. And I really
Okay.
resonate with everything you were saying. I don't have the book. There it goes. But I
There it
also
is.
have a link to your website that it's linked to this video on the description. And so people are going to be able to find out more about it, and by clicking on the link and following up on your website and finding out more about it.
Okay.
So yeah,
So, okay, so I know this talk is like anything comes on.
exactly. This is what's happening.
And that's why I brought my husband in. So this is Yanko.
Hi, Yanko. I'm Doug. Nice to see you.
Can you
Same
see
here.
me?
Let me spin this up a little bit so we
Oh,
can
oh,
get you
oh, oh, oh,
in
perfect.
frame. Very good. Yes.
So, Yanko, I was telling my husband, I was telling Douglas about hypnosis.
Uh-huh.
We had conversation and he knows. And I said, and he's very good with hypnosis because in one session he stopped smoking. So I thought he's a good candidate to go deeply into the unconscious that we're not consciously aware of what could be affecting us. So
Right.
I said that's why I dragged you over here,
Oh, I see.
invited you to talk to Yanko because I
Mhm.
was asking him about his hypnotic sessions.
I see. Yeah.
So,
Well, some people would say, Yanko, that I should get out of hypnosis, that I should get real, that I'm already in.
I sometimes I tell people the same thing. I tell them like I don't hypnotize you, I dehypnotize to get you out
Right.
of your daily loops or habits or whatever you've been
Yeah.
conditioned to believe into.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's what I do. Sometimes I dehypnotize people.
no, but it's very funny. So
Well, it'd be interesting, when you say dehypnotize people. I think I hadn't really heard that term now until it's just
no,
coming up in our conversation. It makes a lot of sense to me. Um, because when I look at the book that Radavie referred to,
Mhm.
the book that we wrote together,
we co-authored.
what it does essentially is it's dehypnotizing people from their conditioned self to uncover their essential self that was never tarnished. And
That's right.
so I guess you could say we're both in the dehypnotization business, whatever, something like that.
We're all helping people to change the way they are and find out who they truly are,
Mhm.
just differently, like everyone. Because like the way I understand it is like some people like I'll use cars for example. Some people like red cars. Some people like white cars. Other people like blue cars, and it's kind of the same thing. I don't think that anything happens for no reason. Like I would like to think that everything happens for a reason. In that, if you're drawn to somebody to do the work they offer, or there's something that's pulling you towards that person, either being a book or being a hypnosis or being singing balls or like chanting or like drumming. It all comes up and connects like nicely to get you in that state where you're supposed to transform and help yourself do whatever the next step is. and,
Mhm.
and I say to hypnotize because like um, that state happens naturally. It's a natural state of being, that outer state of being, and it happens multiple times during the day. So people get in and out of trance states, and they just don't realize it when they do. Um, and so hypnosis, it's one of the tools that allows people to get in that outer state of being to be able to do any kind of work or self improvement or any kind of work they like to do.
Mhm.
And so that's how I explain it. That's why I say dehypnotize people. If that makes any sense, the way I'm explaining it.
Yeah, it makes a very good sense to me. I understand it. Yes. I may not have understood that 10 years ago, but as time has moved
You
on, I've
develop.
come to know that to be true. Yeah.
And the other thing is that I'm noticing more and more as I go through the day that a lot of people are using a lot of that stuff to do sales or to do any kind of other things where you might be in the right mindset or on a trance state to
Mhm.
push you towards some decision making, say buying something or selling you something and doing different things. And and it's been in marketing and other things like that a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
because yeah, because for hypnosis to happen or that state to happen, you have to have fascination or a fixed mindset on something, and um, and what better example than the night shows where they try to sell you things where the room is dark, you're in the bed, you relax, there's no thoughts going, you're almost in the zone, the TV is going, and they say buy now.
Yeah.
And it goes directly to your deeper mind, and you're like,
Yes.
maybe I want to buy this. So I mean, there's conditions like that where people are being taken advantage of to do different things. So and it's kind of interesting also because people that don't understand that, and I do a lot of education demonstrations and explanation when I go to shows and I hook up with local people, and I tell them I'm hypnotist, and sometimes they get scared because like they think that you can brainwash them or do something, and they'll just like hide up and they say you're not gonna do anything bad to me, are you? Like you have moral code, right? And
Mhm.
I kind of check on and say, yeah, it doesn't work that way.
Mhm. Yeah.
But you probably know because as Radavie mentioned, you use hypnosis to quit smoking.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. It was hypnosis, as well as some follow up. So, for instance, and I mean, this goes back to 1984. I'm not even going to do the arithmetic, but it's a long time ago.
Hmm.
And I had been smoking heavily for 25 years. Well, no, probably more than that. Doesn't matter. And so we were all in a room, and we each were sitting at a desk, and we had earphones on. And the facilitator, also known as the hypnotist, put us through some kind of mental exercises, and then had us um, create certain scenarios about how bad smoking was.
Hmm.
And everybody, I imagine, created a different scenario. And then, um, as a result of that, we were given the tapes to listen to for 45 minutes a day for a couple of weeks. And the tapes really reinforced what we learned in the session. So it was quite a process. It was really quite a process.
It is, and like anything, because once you recognize that state, you can take it and turn it into anything. Like say, if you were working on your muscles to gain muscles or something, you do workouts, and the more you do it, the better you get at it. So a lot of people start with that. Um, I have some audios that also help people learn how to relax or get in that state because
Mhm.
all hypnosis is self hypnosis. But the more you do it, the easier it gets, like anything else in life,
Mhm.
because you're training your mind, body, spirit how to do the whole thing. So
Yeah,
it's fascinating process.
yeah.
You also mentioned, Yanko, that you go into past life.
Right. So that's something that I love doing, taking people to past lives or anywhere where they're feeling like they're stuck. It doesn't have to be a past life, it could be from this life. I would also like to think that I won't even call him past life. I'm just calling him past life for
Yeah,
the sake of everyone calling him past life because there's no time and space, everything happens in the now. So there are like multiple realities where things are happening, and in just a little sliver of your soul, it's in that body that's having that human experience right now. But when you
absolutely.
connect, you're actually connecting with other parts of your whole to help it integrate and do the learning and everything else. So it's not
Yeah.
really a past life. It's more of a like a parallel life. Let's put it that
Yeah,
way.
it's like little fractals,
Right.
fractals from different. Yeah, I totally get it, Young. I kind of tend to want to say that too because if I'm experiencing it now here, that means it's here, it's now, it's in the moment.
Right.
If I'm experiencing something that I know, for instance, some people they're so scared of water.
Hmm.
And when they're hypnotized, they realize they had drowned in another time. So
Right.
the aftermath of that was still present. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah. And here's the beauty of it. Like once you learn how to do it, um, you won't need my assistance. I'm not in I'm not like a psychotherapist. I'm not a doctor. I'm not psychotherapist or anything. When I'll go and say, all right, let's talk about what happened to you so many times or so many years ago or whatever. Once you learn to get in that state, you're working on your own. And I like to think that from doing work myself, um, when I learned how to go in that other state of being, I was able to transform other things that came out from parallel lives and or things like emotions that are trapped in the body or something else that came to my knowledge or my reality or my consciousness because it was very deeper and it wasn't there before. So, if I compare that to yoga and other ancient practices, I would say that this has been known for so many years. When first step they start to work with the body, where they do asanas, where they stretch the body to get the body in physical um, a position where it's like fit. Then they work on their like eating habits. Then they work on the mind through meditation and cultivation, and they're hooking up all those things before they can even go deeper to do other meaningful work, if that makes any sense.
Mhm.
yeah.
And yeah, so tell me more about the book you guys did. I didn't know you co-authored. So
Yeah.
how
Yeah, I couldn't have done it without Douglas. Believe me. I get the messages, and he had written a book before, so he's a project manager, what
Mhm.
consultant, what do you call it?
I used to be, yeah, my business was extreme project management, helping companies and managers succeed on very difficult, highly challenging projects. A lot of them were in the pharmaceutical industry where they were very complicated, a lot of variables, a lot of pressure, a lot of competition. So I created something called extreme project management, which answers the question how to succeed in the face of volatility.
Mhm.
So basically, it gave me zero credentials to write. It's not related at all to the book that we wrote, although at some level everything is related. So
Well, the thing
Yeah,
is,
not
yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say nothing happens. At least when I'm looking back now, I'm seeing that there's no coincidences,
no,
and
absolutely
and
not.
and the reason I ask it's because I know that people that do right channel work or other books, they tend to work in tandem with other people that help them get in the trance state. And I was just curious if that was the case with you, like if the one helped the other, or if one was taking the notes or recording the other when the information come through and all that. So
Oh,
that's
with
why I
the
was
book?
asking.
Oh,
Oh,
I see. In the case of Radhavi, she started to receive messages, as she mentioned, from the divine spark, something I had not really heard of. And she would read the messages to me, and we both come from what I would call the self-remembering tradition or the non-dual tradition. And I could not relate the messages to that. But as I absorbed the messages, it became very clear to me what the messages were pointing to.
Hmm.
And she had so many messages. And I looked through the messages and I found that there was a pattern uh, through which the messages progressed.
Hmm.
And I coupled that with my understanding of spirituality or self remembering or the non dual tradition, which I don't like the term non dual. Um, and I was able to structure the book in a way that that followed the path of the human condition. Okay, and then the messages fell within those four particular milestones in the path of the human condition.
we we're on the same level of, hey, Kerri, of consciousness. So it wasn't a difficulty for us to understand, but the story, all of that was about all the experiences I've had, and unknown to me, this is the human conditioning that I got to learn through my own self healing. That was passionate. I'm here to break the code of the human conditioning. That was the first frame of the book. So people could really see themselves and understand what they had gone through, that that's not what they are. Because in between there are messages from the divine spot that really relates to that portion of the book. And then it's freedom exploration for people to understand and to listen to. It's like a discovery. You're not what you think you are. And there are 12 of those in the book. So when people buy the book too, there's a barcode in there that they go to my website and they hear me speaking it. So they don't have to be reading it. They're listening to it so they can be relaxed and just be. So the the book is really evergreen. It really is, because not everyone is going to live from their soul essence at the same time. But my gosh, when you get to that place, there is peace. There is what, and that's the reason I said I'm an inner peace coach, guide, inner peace guide.
Right. And I want to welcome Kerri.
I
She's
know,
joining us a little
Kerri.
bit later. Come on
So
in, Kerri.
good to see you.
Hey, beautiful Miss Radavie and friend. Hi. I don't know who this fine
This
gentleman
is this
is
is
next to you.
This is
this is my husband Douglas. I pulled him in here to talk to meet Yanko and to talk about hypnosis. So that
I love it. Well, it's so funny. Well, first off, to the audience, speaking of inner peace, just dropped my daughter off, who's 16, to fly by herself to Minnesota. And as with everything in life, things happen that were unexpected. And I realized as I'm coming here and actually talking to Yanko offline, I was like, wow, I'm pretty peaceful despite all of the unexpected circumstances that came up. And I think that speaks to the work that we're continuously doing, right? Because the reality is a lot of people concern themselves with how they present or how they may impact others, and I truly believe things unfold perfectly and beautifully. So thank you for the grace. I'm super excited to be here with you and Douglas, and also Radavie, just pulling him in. You're my type of person. Like, let's just get the party started.
Exactly.
Gary, you're so
Yeah.
beautiful, and I'm getting a message. By the way, I'm getting a message that this can turn into something much more expansive. What is happening right here? Yanko, me, you. I just get it, and I can't explain how I see it, but this is the download. This is the information that I'm getting. So both of you can look at it and say, "What the hell does that mean?" So in your perspective, what does it mean for you? The possibility of of this becoming much more expansive and supportive to people.
Well, go ahead. Did you want to say something, Douglas?
not at the moment,
No,
no.
no,
Oh,
he's
okay. I don't know. I think that for me personally, as I dropped into the conversation, I just had to chuckle because it's interesting. So I'm gonna go on a little tangent real quick, but I think it speaks to the gift of this moment, right? I've been zenned out about my daughter going on her trip and stuff, but the people in our lives, my daughters in my life, are they operate from a lot of fear, right? And conditioning, what you were saying, right? A lot of unconsciousness. And so my father called my daughter up, panicked, and really kind of lecturing her about this trip, and then drives a half hour to bring her money, then insists, mind you, I'm working with clients, that she needs to leave right now because there's traffic, and she's 16. So of course she's feeding into this energy, this frantic energy.
Of course.
And she calls me, and I'm calm, and I was like, if it's gonna bring you peace to leave now, we'll leave, but we're gonna be fine. It's totally fine. And so she's frantic. And as I'm driving, it was a beautiful opportunity for me to tell her, I'm like, look, we have 2.5 hours to get to the airport. There's so many gifts here. I was like, but the reality is, until you start to trust yourself and tap into it, you're going to be pulled by the strings of the energy of the people around you. And that's not something I'm willing to do anymore. Right. And then, of course, driving back from the airport, because of all these hiccups, I found myself falling into that trap that she did when my father called her. And I'm like, wait a minute. Nope, I don't have to do this. That's just a conditioned response that I'm used to, but I can choose differently. Right. So then I pulled over, and then I listened to you talking about conditioning. And I'm like, okay, I hear you, universe. Thank you for the gift. I appreciate you immensely.
Nothing happens by chance, Kerri. And let me tell you, this is so. I just feel it, whatever I said. This was something that came to me. I don't know what Yanko feels about it.
Well, no, but this is why we have this show for no particular reason. It's wonderfully wonderful. We come in, there is nothing planned. Kerri is late, and everything unfolds just the way it's supposed to unfold.
I know. And
It's
then
really good.
I bring Douglas in to meet you. It's really.
Yeah, no, but see, here's what I love about that. And I want the community to hear this, because this is important. So often we create these expectations or these ideas of how things are supposed to unfold. It's all the time, right? Like, we can't help it. I think it's just the natural human condition. I myself still have these expectations at times. But when you just allow for things to unfold perfectly, the gifts and the learning and just the insight that you're able to access is, indescribable, right? Just kind of like you said, you had a download and you can't explain it, right? It's really difficult to describe how life unfolds until it just unfolds. And the fact that you just were called to bring Douglas in, and I mean, that to me is what living by spirit is all about. You just do the thing that feels right for you in that moment, without the ego telling you, well, what's Kerri and Yanko going to think about this? Or, you know what I mean? Whatever other story it could have added to the mix.
And Kerri, I just want to acknowledge your beautiful spirit for how you shared these people with me, to me. It just it touched me. It really did. And I told you that before, but I want to tell you in your face now. So through Kerri, I met Yanko.
I received that in. We're all love, and when we can just show up as love, then I truly believe the power of love is so transformative in so many ways. If I'm in a moment where I'm in doubt or insecurity because I have not transcended my ego, so those are real conditions that I experience, I always tap into love. I'll reach out to Yanko and send him some random quote, or I'll walk into my daughter's room for a hug, because instantly it grounds me back into my purpose, which is just simply to be loved. And when I stop seeking to be anything other than that, I find peace. And so if I can put people like Radavie and Yanko and Lanita and all these beautiful people who are really showing up as love in the world together, I just can't, to me, it's selfishly filling my cup on top of putting you guys in touch with other people who can fill your cups, hopefully, anyway.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And Gemma and I are going to be talking soon, because I'm going to be on her podcast.
I love that.
I know. I know.
Yeah, Radavie was sharing how she's like looking forward to podcasting and everything, and I was like, it's just natural. Like whatever happens, happens. We're gonna
I
have fun,
know.
and that's all about it. Like, and
Yes.
yeah,
I tend to like a little more structure than Radhavi.
No, no,
yes,
Yeah, I look at it this way. I'm kind of famous for saying this. Um, Radhavi is, I'm where the rubber meets the road, and Radhavi is where the rubber meets the sky.
I love it.
And that's, and we kind of navigate in between. So I can be grounding for Radhavi, and Radhavi can get me out of my, let's say,
I'm
very very planned way of being. So
bring him to Yanko.
it's a good
And
it's a
it's
good
pretty
combination.
open
Yeah.
to it. And the thing about Douglas too, like sometime in the morning after meditation, or we're gonna have breakfast, and things are coming to me, and my spark is so open, and I'm getting more things, and sometimes I'm crying, and he sits there and hold that space and listen. I mean, it's like very things like I would not just go display in front of people. It's very, intimate
Yeah.
experience, and I can have somebody to speak it to. That is really important to me.
Yeah,
I
so
can share it.
yeah, it's a great spiritual practice, and I don't like to throw spiritual around very much because it has too many connotations to it. But there's a teacher, Tony Parsons,
He's
and
British.
he explained the whole thing in very concise terms. He says, "Can't you see? I'm just space for you to be."
Yes.
And to create the space, or to allow the space for someone to be as they are without necessarily trying to change the way they are, and to be big enough to get out of your ego so that you can be that spacious presence. This I think, certainly for me, I can never speak for anyone else, is a lifelong practice and way of being in the world. I mean, when you look at politics, and if you take a politician that you particularly dislike on any side of the fence, and you can actually sit there in calm, not tongue biting calm, but just sit there and be the space to let them say and do all they want to say that is complete bullshit, but you're completely accepting, and you're relaxed in the process. This is spiritual recognition, spiritual realization.
That
To be
is,
able to do that, to be the space and let them be without being pulled and tugged and getting all excited.
and I think Yanko probably does that.
I do. Yes,
Right,
and I was
right.
gonna say it's so wonderful that you have somebody that's there for you, because I can relate to a lot of the things you're saying, and sometimes I also live those things when I just sit and cry and enjoy for no particular reason. And I would love to share that with somebody, but it's just me, um, which isn't a bad thing because I'm really happy with myself.
No, I
But in
understand.
the same time, it's good to share with everybody else around. It's overall good feeling though.
But you're
So,
doing that now. You see, you have maybe the best of both worlds. If you don't have a partner,
your
you
wife,
can share with other people without having to live with the partner that you want to share with. And so there's some.
but Yanko, you do have a wife, don't you?
I do, yes.
Oh, you do. Oh, so you do have
But
a partner.
she's not in the same frequency, man.
Oh,
Is
okay.
that it?
No. No, we have a great mismatch.
Oh. Well, so that's where Tony Parsons comes in. Can't you see I'm the space for you to be?
Yes,
You know,
exactly.
one of the things I feel strongly clear about, that we were put together, our soul has put us together with people to learn, grow, and evolve. And because she's on this whole different wavelength, it gives you a chance to stay in your frequency without getting sparked by something else. It's a real practice. It's a real
I know
challenge.
it is a weird practice. I know, and
Well,
and we might have had this conversation with Kerri before that. Right at the beginning, there were people, and there's still people that go up in the mountain cave and they're just sit by themselves and everything else. And I'm not one of those people. I want to be able to be in the family lifestyle where I can reflect and expand and learn from the whole experience instead of just be in the world but not from the world, but then also not in the world.
Yeah.
Kind of way. Do you understand?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's this from the Bible. You want to be in it, but not of it.
Right.
and Douglas and I don't commonly agree with certain things. We're not like two peas in a pod. No, it's
I feel and sense that in so many ways. It's funny. So, Douglas, I'm a former CEO from corporate America. So, when I heard you say, you're grounded in, like, you like grounded structure and stuff, I totally get it, right? Because that was my life for many years, many, many years. For me personally, that was so constricting, and really, I felt like it just did not align with the spirit that I'm called to be. So I definitely shifted out of that, but I definitely get it. But like the two of you, I am in a partnership with somebody who can unequivocally hold space for me. And we could not be more different more different. He has no interest in spirituality, nothing, but get him to dress up in cosplay outfits and go into a convention and do that. But it works, and it's
Yeah.
beautiful because to what Douglas was saying, and I cannot agree more. The two of us are able to bear witness of each other without wishing each other was different, and just loving each other where we're at rather than where we wish we were, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that to me is a practice as well, because of course, and all I can do is speak for myself, I still come from ego at times, and so I have to choose. And I think that's the other choice for me. And touching upon what Yanko was saying, he likes to be in life and rather than in the mountain. We're always given the opportunity to make a choice, and anytime my ego kicks in, I am self-aware enough to recognize it, and I ask myself, what choice do I want to make in this situation? Do I want to come from fear? Do I want to feel like I need to control Nana, that's my partner's name, or my daughter from going to Minnesota, whatever? Or do I choose love? And in choosing love, it's a complete surrender to trust that you don't have to be in control and you can just let it unfold. And that kind of speaks to what I was saying when I first jumped on. So
Yeah.
that's wonderful, Kerri.
Well, the corporate, you mentioned when you were in corporation, and how I work with the dynamic of being in corporate America, consulting and training in corporate America was you could simplistically divide people into two categories: those who were what I call had a Newtonian mindset. It was very prescriptive, and do what I say, and it had to be very logical and predictive and wanting to control reality. And then there were others that I referred to as having a quantum mindset. That is, they would want to go with the flow, and so you would have the scientists who needed to experiment and go with the flow and not be held to a deadline, versus corporate people who had deadlines to meet and stack shareholders to approve. And how do you manage those two seemingly conflicting dynamics when you actually need both to make it happen and to serve the good of the corporation? So we came up with a kind of project management that says, how do you succeed in the face of volatility? And how do you balance the Newtonian mindset and integrate it with the quantum mindset so that you can dance with reality rather than fight with reality? Because we know anytime you argue with reality, you lose, but only 100% of the time. So you've got to integrate and go with the flow, but yet keep things in control.
Yeah.
So it's really a blending as opposed to trying to get rid of or disciplining. You just have to be flexible enough to know what the situation is and go with the situation, not with your mental position.
You know, I was both of those leaders. So, you know, my community knows I've been on my own since I was 14. I didn't finish high school. So I know what it's like to nose to the grindstone work. And because of that, I was a dictator, right? Because I had to succeed. I didn't have a choice for many years. Luckily, I also studied psychology at a very early age. And I wanted to learn how to communicate more effectively. And that education, self-education, started to get me to learn how to lead more effectively through love and compassion. And I'll give a shout out to Brene Brown for that, because I read all of her stuff 20 plus years ago on that. And you're right. Like I was very, very dogmatic, and then I was go with the flow. And when I work with my clients now, I tell them I'm a firm believer of fluid discipline. And what I mean by that is there are non-negotiables to my day, right? Like I have my journaling, my meditation, my whatever. But I'm not dogmatic in that I need to do X, Y, and Z at this specific time to do this. Now, for a long time I was, right? And I've had this conversation because I needed to embed those grooves into my brain to get used to that new behavior and stuff. But now, because I know myself, I know that as long as I trust myself, I'm not as inclined to be so systematic in how I show up in my structure. And that, to your point, Douglas, it comes from your heart rather than your head. You're led intuitively rather than through logic and through prescriptive courses of action. That's how I find I'm most successful.
Yeah.
And the thing is, Kerri, what I'm just saying, the bottom line is you started to let go control.
Yeah. Oh, hands down. Let go. Well, you have to, because we have no control. And, this is why I tell people you see so much suffering post-COVID, because there was this ideology that we had all this control, and then COVID hit, and COVID didn't bother me in the least, other than it just gave me clarity around the fact that people didn't have the tools to take care of their mental health. So I needed to go into a business that helped give them those tools. But other than that, I was very grounded in just whatever at that point. But too many people are still grasping for the illusion of control that's not there. And that's where I think all three of us show up and do the work with people to help them recognize that the only control you have is the control of the response that you bring to what's going on.
Right. People don't understand that. I think, and I had this to a certain extent, not so much anymore, of having a rescue fantasy, that someone is going to come to the rescue. If we just get the right set of politicians in, or the right, job orientation, there's always some kind of a rescue remedy that's floating around, whether it's explicit or implicit. And really, it puts you completely out of control. You're at the whim of something that you have no control over. It's kind of like, and this is it's a little crude. It's kind of like peeing in your wetsuit. It gives you a warm feeling, and nothing really matters. Nothing really changes. So this idea of, especially in politics today, there are so many rescue fantasies that if we just get Trump in or Biden in, or we get Putin out, then things will be better, as if they had any control over things,
Well, you know what? I'm driving, and I keep meaning to put this out there, and now I'm going to. And I'm driving, and I saw this bumper sticker the other day, and it said, "Teach peace." And I immediately started laughing. And the reason why is to teach peace, you have to know peace. And most people don't know peace because peace is an internal job. And to your point, Douglas, I think that, for me, again, being on my own since 14, I never, ever believed anybody was going to rescue me. I really didn't. I didn't believe I was going to rescue myself until later after I went through a lot of experiences. But I didn't believe that anybody was going to rescue me. But when I realized that I had the ability to rescue myself, I realized I couldn't do it from a place of fear. Because if I did it from a place of fear, all I was doing was creating misery around me, right? Because I was like a dictator as a leader. My kids were terrified of me as young children and so it was, okay, if I'm not going to teach from fear, how can I teach love? Well, what's love? It's feeling calm. It's feeling a state of peace. And so for anybody out there, community, please hear what Douglas is saying, what I'm saying, what I know Yanko believes and Radavie is, if you really want to experience change, then the change has to take place within yourself. You can only control one person, and that one person is you. And in doing that, you will actually experience a life that is more peaceful, because as you experience peace internally, you attract peace externally.
Yes, good point. Excellent
Oh,
point.
beautiful. So, Yanko, what do you have to say in this rich conversation?
I really enjoy it though because everything resonates with me,
Right?
and it's the same. It's the same to me, and I have the critical mind or the critical factor of my mind kicking from time to time, and I'll get worked up because of that, and then I'll catch myself that I'm getting in that mindset, and it's a practice. So and that goes back to what Kerri was saying pre-show. Like she was like, "You're kind of feeling a little bit stressed or whatever." I'm like, "Yeah, I got to the point where I get worked up." So it is something that happens,
Yeah.
but it's wonderful, and it's wonderful to me because I got to be here and now and experience those things. It's not like I'm running away from anything, but I welcome it. It's like, okay, come on in. Let's see what is that about.
Yeah, yeah,
Next thing, what is that about?
I go to network and I'm in a breakout room and I'm talking and I'm saying, I want to be a podcast guest. And I remember one woman said, do you have a one sheet? A one sheet means that you send that off to the host. Kerri probably knows that. And it says everything about what you, and I told her, yes. She says, send it to me. Okay, so I cut and paste her, and I've done that many times with key people that I may not be able to find it when I take all the chat because there's so many people on it, and I open a page that I have down in, and I click it on. I thought, yeah, I got it. I don't know what happened, but it disappears. I think I needed to click it up there, and I thought, oh my God, I don't have it. And in that one moment, I'd say, okay, there's something else I need to do to be able to get it stuck here. And it's over. I just don't mourn it. I don't mourn because, I just say, okay, it's not here. I just let it go.
Yeah.
It's not meant to be.
Yeah, I know. Just let life come through me. And just.
Yeah, a good gauge of what I work with in terms of, let's say, being at peace in the midst of chaos, the gap between cause and effect. So, for instance, if the gap is no gap, then you're completely out of control. You just somebody pushes a button and the alarm goes off, and you're in conflict. So I remember once being in London on a bus, and it said, "Mind your head before rising," and I thought that was a nice way. So now I say, "Mind the gap before reacting." And so I just focus on the gap,
It's
you
so
know, and
good.
yeah, and just kind of see if that gap, it's kind of a self-measurement. Is that gap getting bigger or smaller? Under what circumstances does it close? And the gap, of course, is it's not a teeth clenching gap. It's just a gap of relaxation before you take the next step. And I find that under certain circumstances, the gap gets bigger and bigger, which is
Come
good.
back to peace. It's
And
like come back
yeah,
to
yeah.
peace.
So this idea
Yeah.
of inner peace is not a one-time, I got it and that's it. I think it's an ongoing practice to recognize what, like a lot of what you were saying, Kerri, to be at peace in the midst of chaos, and under those circumstances. It's not like I got it and I got it forever. Maybe, but maybe not. It's okay. Be at peace with not being at peace. How about that?
Oh, you would have a wonderful conversation with my dear friend Gail, because she would say the same thing. Be at peace with not being at peace. Because you're right. Like, to Yanko's point, he can sit here and enjoy being in that heightened state of emotion, right? And that's all I call stress. It's just you're having an emotional charge to the thoughts that are coming up, right, around the experience you're having. And I, like Yanko, can bear witness to it. I can't say that I enjoy being in it. That would be a bull-faced lie, because I don't. However, I do appreciate the experiences, because what I realize is I'm able to get back to peace so much more quickly because of all the times that I was able to witness the uncomfortability and how long it lasted. So instead of sitting for an hour in this anxiety around my father engaging with my daughter, it took me a half a second. And that's because of the many times where I sat in stress and just was able to observe it and be like, okay, well, this doesn't serve me. It's not helping me. And I don't like the way I feel. So what do I need to do to shift out of it?
Mm-hmm.
And I totally agree. Internal peace is an ongoing practice, at least for me. I can only speak for myself, but it is truly an ongoing, ever unfolding practice of how I choose to feel in any given moment based on what I'm experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
And a good example to Yanko's point, right? I could feel his stress on the phone. And I had a choice in that moment. I can feed into the stress, or I can just choose to put on my music and keep bopping along until I could pull over to the show. And that's the choice I made. And I was like, well, whatever it is, it's going to be. And it's what it was. And it's beautiful. And I could not have asked for a more pleasant conversation and how this all worked out.
No, let me, I was pulled in here from doing the dishes in the kitchen and cleaning up my lunch mess. So I have no idea what the context of this is. Is this a podcast? What is this? What am I participating in? Am I committing suicide in public? What am I doing?
So this streams live across all social media for Yanko and myself, usually when I turn it on. And we're working on turning all of the recordings into a podcast at some point too. But this goes to YouTube, all Instagram, LinkedIn. So it's essentially a show where we talk to people who are, I would say who are working on, ascending in consciousness.
Okay,
yeah.
Good.
Well,
yeah, pretty much anything that resonates with where the conversation goes. That's how we talk about it. Like I didn't plan on where this conversation is going to go today, and it turned out okay. I got to talk about parallel realities and other things, which kind of gets me going. So that was nice. So you never know where this is going to go. It's very raw, very unscripted, and I think. I kind of enjoy that kind of style of production and Kerri too, and we kind of resonate on that.
So here's the thing. Kerri was late coming in, but Divine sent me, to be here in a conversation with you, Yanko. You see how perfect that was? You were not left alone in this.
I know. That's why I trust the universe. And I was like, okay, let's see where this goes. I always know. I'm always supported. I'm always in flow and
I
everything. It's
know.
always the best way it's
And,
supposed to come up.
Now, Radavie and I have a big appointment today, by the way. So,
yeah.
and I'm going to have to get ready.
And
pretty
I
soon.
pulled him in, and he's participating, which I just thought that was beautiful.
Yeah.
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 Really beautiful.
We have, this is a big deal for us today. It's a big
Yeah.
deal.
And
We are picking out a new mattress.
That is a big deal. I love my sleep. So, well, listen, with 2 minutes left in the show, first off,
okay.
I think I speak for Yanko as well in saying both of you two are welcome to join us on this show again, because this has been a beautiful and quite engaging conversation. So thank you for your presence, energy, and your insight. It truly means a lot to me. And secondly, what from each of you is one thing that you would like to leave the audience with? Is something that really helps ground you, or anything, any words of wisdom that you could leave our communities with?
You're the good.
You go ahead, Radavie.
You know, I really truly want people to know when they're not alone. They may think that there's nobody there, but when I was shown through my own experiences everlasting love around me when I was going through some inner child stuff, I'm on lunch, having lunch with the partner at the time, and the plate is in front of me, and I'm feeling my emotions because that is not going to be cut off. And I was shown this beautiful golden light around me, and that everlasting love is here. And I really want to leave that with people and know that, you know, the essence of our soul is from the one flame of the divine. There's no separation between any of us. So that's what I want to say.
And for me, I would say accept the unacceptable and move on from there. Take action from there. Accept the unacceptable and take action from a place of acceptance rather than resistance.
You know what? I feel like you just opened up a whole can of worms, Douglas. We got to have you on the show to unpack that, because we don't have time. And I totally get what you're saying, but I think that's obscure, and I think we could totally do a whole show on that. So with that, Yanko, any final words?
I want to invite our audience and viewers, even the people that watch us on the recording, to give us thumbs up or down, and that'll be a good indication to let us know what are we doing, how are we doing it, because we're doing it for you guys. We're here for you, so help us help you.
And I'm going to leave you with this, as I always do. Life is short. If you're not laughing your way through it, you're missing out on all the goodness, the juiciness. And, you know, my ending to every email is laugh well and often. And my hope for all of you is that today and every day you laugh well and you laugh often. Until next week, guys, lots and lots of love, and we will see you all soon.